Yeah, I'm losing my
Picking tops and stocks, that's the debate that we're going to have here today. When to pick tops? Is it a fruitful endeavor to do so here with the stock market that makes all-time highs every once in a while? They're making all-time highs more than every once in a while in recent trade here. Or should we just ride out long stocks for eternity and even on those all-time high days be buying them? We'll find out here in a second. First, shameless plug for our weekly newsletter, the free version of which you can sign up for at go.smallexchange.com/light-confirmation. I know that's a lot of letters and words, so just look at your screen here and copy that into your URL bar. Just give us your email and name, and we'll send you content like this that went out to everybody who signed up this morning. Animal spirits at stock market highs, free market commentary, a bunch of number crunching goes into it, a bunch of word formulating from yours truly goes into it, and a bunch of nice graphics from the Tasty Trade production team go into it. So sign up for this for sure as I dissect the animal spirits at stock market highs. I mean, what's your first inclination when you hear all-time high in stock market, Pete? Like, what's your animal spirit up there? What have you been talking?
Same market, different day. No, I think that for me, it's the amount of updates we've had. Again, we talked about this. 5 out of the last 8 have been new updates. All these, we've seen this statistically play out. And we've also done, and you've done some great research, Frank, about when we move, not by a couple of handles or 0.5%, but when we move to these new highs by a fair amount. In other words, we get out of that range that we've been in. And I'm not talking by 5 handles in the S&Ps. It takes some time for it to turn. It doesn't go up and come right back down at the same time. So does it start? So for me, I've been reasonable. I think we both have, and you've actually talked me into managing stuff more often than I've actually managed it on some of these downside moves. I think you go back to the well and you start to build some defined risk, short deltas in now with VIX down again today. You're having a harder time. Each time we go back to this well, it tends like we're building our call spreads at slightly closer strikes. But I think that's the same thing as what we do. I find it interesting, and I'm trying to take away the noise of an incredibly thin market on Thursday, almost a thinner market on Friday. Bitcoin down $3,000. So you saw the sell-off in metal. And whether you were watching CNBC, Bloomberg, or any of the other chuckleheads, it was Bitcoin leading the precious metals lower in a risk-off trade. And we know the one thing is we quite haven't figured out what Bitcoin is, so to speak, but it's not a trade against metals. And this idea of where we're seeing some risks taken off in gold and things like that, it's flowing right into these equity markets. So does that mean that this is the last bastion of safety and everyone's going to get into a crowded trade? At some point, yes. When? I don't know.
Sure. And yeah, all of those, Pete just ran the gamut of options on equities all the way to Bitcoin, metals, and back. All of those different strategies aside, let's just deal with this new high in markets. Because like you said, Pete, it's not a matter of a new high here in the small stocks futures that we're looking at, SM75. And they just took that old new high of 55 or 56 and they added on another $1. They blew out these all-time highs over the last couple of years here. And a lot of people either think to themselves, oh, I need to get into that crowded market, like you said, and buy it and move all of my money out of gold and Bitcoin and everything else and get into this market and see it move higher. Or the other animal spirit there is I need to sell this thing and hold it until it gets back down to $30 like we saw on the low side over the last few years. And I'm going to make a case for actually neither of those ideas because you've seen the new high 5 of the last 9 days. And it normally happens just 5% of the time. That being said, Pete, not a truly novel occurrence here, not anything weird, because these all-time highs actually cluster. Out of all, there's about 50 all-time highs from 2017 until now, Pete, and a handful of them occurred here at the end of 2017, start of 2018, and then a handful of them in middle of 2018, and then a handful at the end of 2018. And from then until now, there's been 0 all-time highs. And so more than 50 occurrences, Pete, all falling into about 4 distinct time frames. And so 5 of the last 9 days, that's a nice headline. I use that to kind of spur some emotions with the crowd here, but nothing really crazy at the end of the day, because these all-time highs do cluster. Now, what does that tell me? That tells me that I need patience, especially if I'm trading from the short side, because we've actually seen an average move higher in the week following all-time highs, and then that average move turn around in the next month following all-time highs. And so if your animal spirit here is a bear, you need some patience. If it's a bull, you need to be aggressive, because that bid is going to be short-lived at all-time highs. You need some more patience. That move off of the highs is going to take longer. A lot of people, Pete, and you've seen plenty of these people. I have as well. They first learn of markets and they see, oh, wow, this small stock 75, let's use this example here. The small stock 75, the high historically is $55. Oh, I'm going to sell 55.50s, 56s, 56.50s, just because that's a price extreme and they have to come down. And while they might come down, Pete, you could get killed here in that run up that's right afterwards. And it's just not a profitable trade. You need that short-term aggressiveness if you're going to get in and out of the trade, but patience in the long term. You can't just sell every all-time high. So, markets have always come off of their highs, like we've seen historically, Pete. It isn't a case of 55, 60, 65, 70, and they never see those prices again. But the question is when, and you have to be prepared for that.